Hi guys, it's Jade from Boho.com. Welcome back to my channel. A while ago I did a Q&A video where basically I decided, because I'm going on about 1,300 subscribers, I would let you guys ask me some questions so you guys can figure out a little bit more about the girl behind the channel. So I have a list of questions which I'm going to read out. The first one is from Kiki Tech, and she says, what is one book that you have read that you really wish you didn't? And I had to think about this because, to be honest, I'm one of those people that has to finish everything they start. So regardless of if I didn't like a book, I have to see where it goes. I think I've DNF'd one book in my entire history on BookTube, and that was Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. But besides that one, which I'm going to try again in the future, the one book that just was completely useless and pointless to me was On the Other Side by Carrie Hope Fletcher. I know that she is hugely popular on YouTube and so many of you love her, but I found her book stupid and just pathetic. I didn't like anything about it. I am sorry. She also asked me what 3 books are on my TBR that I have to read as soon as possible, and the one that actually made this list I started yesterday, and that is Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough, and so far I am absolutely hooked. To be honest, I don't know too much about the premise, but so far what I know is that it's about these 2 women. It's told from both of their points of views, and the one is this lady who works for this company, and she goes out drinking one night and she hooks up with this dude who pushes her away eventually, and he's got guilt in his eyes and he's like, oh no, he's so sorry, and then she realizes that he's married. The next day she gets to work and discovers that he is her new boss. So that happens, and then the other perspective is told from the boss's wife, and a long time ago something really bad happened to her. Her parents died in a fire in their house and she'd slept through it, so she's got these big sleep problems and night terrors, which is really interesting because I have night terrors. And so it's quite nice to get into the psyche of someone else with night terrors. It's not something I've seen often in a book, but also, so it seems like the boss and the husband, David, is quite strange because he's portraying himself to be someone completely different to the colleague, but to his wife it's like she's scared of him, and he's very controlling. I think she had like a stint in a mental asylum or a psychiatric ward, and so he controls her. He's a doctor and he's giving her this medication, and I don't know, it's very cool so far. I am thoroughly enjoying it. The other 2 books are Rattle by Fiona Cummings, which got given to me by Pan Macmillan South Africa in exchange for an honest review. And this one is about a serial killer that is scarier than Hannibal Lecter. Basically, it's this guy that is obsessed with deformed bones, and he has this museum showcasing them, but he actually abducts people, and he hasn't done so in a while, and then one day he sets his sight on this little girl who has a deformity, and when she goes missing, an investigation into her disappearance happens, and who knows, maybe he has killed her, and yeah, sounds good. So that one I would really like to get to soon. It got published in February this year. And then the next book is Good Me Bad Me by Ali Land, which is an author that I am actually meeting next month because she's coming all the way to South Africa. So I'm really excited to get into this one. This one is about a woman who, I think it's about this little girl, and her mum's a serial killer as far as I know. Again, I'm one of those people that don't go into books knowing too much about them. I like to be surprised, so I try not to listen to too many people's full explanations of them, but let's see what it says on the inside. New name, new family, shiny new me. Annie's mother is a serial killer. The only way Annie can make it stop is to hand her to the police, but out of sight is not out of mind. The secrets of her past won't let her sleep, even with the new family name. Even with a new family and name, Millie. As a team of experts prepare Millie to face her mother at trial, she must confront her past, a fresh start. Now surely she can be whoever she wants, but Millie's mother is a serial killer, and blood is thicker than water. And it just sounds fantastic. So they are 3 books that I am really looking forward to. As you can tell, they're all thrillers because that is my favourite genre. Jane Petrie also asked me a question, and she said, or a few questions actually, she said, who is your favourite artist? I work in the art industry, so this is quite an important one for me, and to be honest, the one artist that has always stood out to me above everyone else is Jackson Pollock. That leads her to the next question. Do you have a favourite artistic style or period? And I would say I really like post-impressionist, and I think, you know, like the Van Gogh era is really cool. It's something that just speaks to me. I think it also has something to do with my my love for thriller books. Like the Van Gogh creepier kind of style is something that I really enjoy. Right. Do you have any travel plans or destinations coming up? I love travel. If you don't know, it is one of my favourite things. I have travelled extensively worldwide so far already at only the age of 26, so yes, of course I have travel plans coming up, I just cannot afford them. I think, no, I've got nothing set in stone right now because I literally am flat out broke, but I will be going travelling at some point again in the future, and right now what is really interesting me is Africa. I mean, I live in South Africa and it's a place that I haven't actually really explored. So I think renting a van and just traveling through Africa would be absolutely amazing. And two friends of mine, two Aussie guys, Mark and Aaron, they have been doing that for the last few months. And they just got back from hot air ballooning over the Masai Mara in Kenya, which is at the Great Migration. And it just sounds amazing. Their pictures are phenomenal, and I have to go and do it right now when I can afford it. Let's see, Ben Sanders says, what song holds the most sentimental value for you and why? I would have to say it would be I Will Wait by Mumford & Sons, and one day when you guys read my second novel, The Other Woman, you will understand why. Another fellow book lover, Silja, says, if you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go and why? And that is very similar to Jane Petrie's question, but to elaborate further, where I want to go changes every single day, just so that you guys know. Today is Africa, tomorrow it could be Egypt. Well, Egypt's in there. Oh God, my geography sucks as someone that's travelled worldwide. Let's just say it could be Canada tomorrow, because that's probably a safer bet than Egypt. Oh, that's so hilarious. When did you understand that you were a writer? I actually have this story. I was aged 3. I didn't speak much as a little girl because I had a little bit of a lisp and it was embarrassing. But the one thing that I said, I was on the floor, like legs sprawled wide open, crayons in hand, colouring something in, and I said to my mum, Mum, one day I'm going to be a writer just like Granddad. And then I went back to colouring. And it was like one of the first full sentences I ever said, I think. According to her, I don't know, she's full of strange stories, but yes, that is the one I remember. So age 3, I knew I wanted to be a writer. Will you share a childhood bookish memory with us? I think, besides begging my parents to reread Billy Goat's Gruff to me every 10 seconds, the most prominent one is probably my love for Jacqueline Wilson, who is a British author who basically tells stories about very troubled childhoods, predominantly or always females, and for some reason her stories just stuck out to me as amazing, and my parents hated it because, yes, it made me believe I had a troubled childhood too, I guess. But yes, I love Jacqueline Wilson. I had every single one of her books. My favourite wine is Shiraz. Favourite place you visited so far and why? I really had, oh, my arm's getting sore, I'm sorry. I had a really tough time choosing between 2 countries here. The first one is the Philippines. The people there are so happy and friendly, and I just absolutely loved my time there. I had a long time there by myself, surfing, making friends, being independent. I just loved it. Little island vibes, you know. I was at this little place called Siargao, which is where Cloud9, the surf spot, is, and Quicksilver is another surf spot, and it's just, oh, the one thing I regret that I didn't do there was go swimming with the whale sharks. The other place that I really loved was actually Switzerland, and they are complete opposite places. Like, one is amazingly warm, and there were earthquakes and stuff while I was there. And then there's Switzerland, where I camped in the freezing cold snow, and that was also just so lovely. I stayed in this little tiny town called Lauterbrunnen. I went up the Jungfrau Mountain, and I froze half to death, but I loved it. What else? What does your perfect weekend look like? Camping. I love camping. Take me to a forest, give me a bottle of red wine, a book, a campfire. Sorry if the quality of this video is about to change because my battery just went too low to use the flash. Anyway, so yes, that's all the questions from Silja, and then we've got one from Veronica Thomas. She says, can you tell us 1 or 2 books that will always be your favourites? One Day by David Nichols is one of my favourite books. I used to make absolutely everyone I could read it. I used to buy it for everyone for presents. I don't know, I think it held a lot of sentimental value to me when I was younger, because it was about 2 best friends, a guy and a girl, and how all through these years they just kept missing each other, but they, you know, they loved each other and they were meant to be together, but it just never happened. And I had a best friend called Michael a long time ago, who I believed that this book was written about us, and I was besotted and in love, and I was like, oh, one day it's going to happen, and this book gave me hope. So yes, we don't even speak anymore, but back in the day when I was naive, you know how things go. The other book that I think I will always really love is Into the Wild by John Krakauer, which is about Christopher McCandless, who just literally just says fuck you society, and he buggers off into the wild, and it's just fantastic. He sells all of his worldly belongings, donates his inheritance or whatever to charities. I think it was Oxfam. But yeah, I just love that book. I would do that if I could. And that brings us to Natalie from Pickle Hearts Books, a fellow author. And she says, what is your favourite comfort food? Luckily you can't see my bad chin today because I've got copious amounts of makeup on, but I really love salt and vinegar crisps. My chin, however, does not. Share an experience that took your breath away. For example, one of mine is one night at band camp. A friend led me to a clearing in the forest and instructed me to look up. I had never seen so many stars in my entire life, and I almost couldn't process it. That actually sounds amazing. What would one of my favourite things be? Gosh, you know, I've had so many. I'm extremely blessed. I'm an extremely lucky person to have had so many incredible memories at the age that I am. I've experienced a lot. Probably very similar to yours. When I was on the yachts, I did a passage from Italy to Spain, and it took a while, but I was really sick. Like, I got super seasick, and the captain made me go up into not the bridge, what would it be called, like right on the top, outside on the yacht, and he also instructed me to look up, and I had also just never seen so many stars, shooting stars, the moon. I mean, we were out in the middle of the Mediterranean, and it was just majestic. That's, yeah, definitely one of the top ones, I think. Mel Moriarty says, what bookish character do you feel is more like you? That brings me back to Into the Wild by John Krakauer, Christopher McCandless. He and I think we have a lot of similarities. Also Cheryl Strayed from Wild, written by Cheryl Strayed. I like these people that just bugger off and do their own thing for a while and are independent. That's very much like me. What is your bookish crush at the moment? I don't really have bookish crushes. I think it's quite weird if I did, considering I enjoy thrillers with a lot of evil villains in them. But I guess the one guy that's always just stood out to me is Jamie from Outlander by Diana Gabaldon, which my ex-boyfriend was working on the set of season 3 here in South Africa. And Jamie was in the country, and ex-boyfriend did not let me meet him, which is why he's my ex. I'm joking. No. Number 3, what is one book that changed your life? It have to say it was the Book of Joy, featuring the Dalai Lama, Desmond Tutu, and no, sorry, that's a bit of a fuck up. The Book of Joy, featuring the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu. This book really, really taught me about forgiveness. I was really angry with a lot of people, and this book just gave me a sense of peace. JD Estrada says, how many countries have you lived in, and which has been your favourite? I've lived in 3 countries so far: England, South Africa and Spain, and I think that they all have their ups and downs, but for very silly reasons, I guess. South Africa is where I have had the most independence. I've had cars, I've had my own friends, I've had my own life. England, I was too young to appreciate it, I think. And Spain, I was completely dependent on a very nasty person, but forgiveness. If you made your own wine, what would you name it? And what would the grape be? And what would be on the label? That one is extremely tough, and you'd think, as a passionate wine lover and avid drinker, I would know that, but unfortunately I don't. It would be a Shiraz, and I don't know, I think it would definitely have maybe a quill and some ink splotches on it, or I don't know. Oh, it's difficult, but it would definitely be very vintage. And as for the name, I actually went to my little wine rack over there, and I was looking, and some of the names are so strange, like Leopard's Leap, like that has nothing to do with wine, so why not call it Boho Bookworm and start my own bloody franchise? Last question. What are the most beautiful places you've sat down to read? Definitely on a yacht in the Mediterranean, overlooking the most beautiful view of Mallorca, like just mountains and blue, crystal blue ocean, and it was just so tranquil. And I mean, I took a picture of it, and it looks like I'm just living the high life and just having the best time. But to be honest, it was literally like my 2 minutes escape break before going back to the chaos of yachting. So it's not as crazy as it sounds. I mean, it's not as amazing as it sounds. But yeah, they are the questions. I think there might be one more, actually. I knew there was one more. Julie Harrington has asked, what is the story behind my name? This is actually a good one. My name, Jade, I'm named after Mick Jagger's daughter from the Rolling Stones. So yes, my parents were rock stars, apparently, back in the day before they got boring. Yes, so Jade Jagger, Jade, that's me. It's also a green stone, just so you know. And the next one is, what is another passion of yours? I absolutely adore surfing. I love hiking, I love the outdoors, I love writing, reading, obviously, that's why I've got this channel. I really enjoy, what else do I enjoy? Travel, obviously. Art, but I can't actually draw it. I did a little sketch of an eye. It's not very good, but yes, so I do like sketching, but I'm never going to be the next Picasso. But thank you very much to all of you for asking me those questions, and if anyone has any other questions, just pop them down below and I will do another one of these if you found it interesting and entertaining. Hopefully you did. Hopefully I made you laugh a little. Anyway, have a good day, guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.